This is the nature of everything. Don't stay stuck.
Hey, have you ever walked into your office and you sat down at your desk and you just kind of realize you're actually good at what you do, but you're also completely miserable? That kind of weird grief.
Yeah. And look, you aren't failing. You're not. In fact, on paper, you're knocking it out of the park. You're winning. The direct deposits, they hit your bank, your LinkedIn profile. It's fantastic. So
So
polished.
good. So good.
Yeah. Guess what? Your parents are proud of you too. You know what? This is the success trap. You're successful by every metric except the one inside your chest, the one that is you. You've built a life that looks great from the sidewalk, but the view from the inside, like your view, it's starting to feel a little cramped.
Look, it might be weird that you're watching people from the sidewalk, but look, it's honestly, it's a dangerous place to be. Because if your job is a dumpster fire, the exit strategy is simple. You
Sure.
follow the smoke. I mean, but then, like always, it's just fine, right? It's
It's
fine.
fine. I said it was fine.
You know, fine is the gravity that keeps people stuck for a decades. It's that
Mhm.
internal GPS of your voice. It keeps saying like, I'm going to recalculate.
You're just buffering.
Yeah. But I mean, you just keep driving the same route because, you know,
Mhm.
the seat heaters are on and the radio's playing.
I mean, true. Like it really is like it's the most comfortable cage that you could ever live in, right? Like to your point, we show up to the meetings and we say the right things, we do the right presentations, we put the right pictures into the PowerPoints, right? But we're really just starting to feel like we're wearing this costume. It's like you've gone and parked permanently in that spot that has the sign that says, 15-minute, like it's a loading zone or something. You're only supposed to be here for 15 minutes, but you didn't. You just actually just parked your life there. And now, like what's it been? Like 2, 3, 5, 8, 10, 12 years? Like what's it been now?
Yeah. I mean, I think the problem with a lot of career stuff is that, you know, we're waiting for some kind of external event to give us permission to move or to change. You know, we wait to get laid off, you know, like, or we wait for the boss to scream at us and cross some boundary.
Sure.
You know, I think I saw a Seth Godin quote one time that said the cost of being wrong is less than the cost of doing nothing. And,
Mm,
you know, but
mhm,
in a fine job, you know, we kind of
mm,
convince ourselves that the cost of doing nothing is zero. You know, we
yeah.
think that we're playing it safe, but actually we're just slowly suffocating ourselves and our potential. You know,
Sure.
you have to be the one to realize that that meter you talked about, it's expired.
15 minutes is up. Well, I mean, to your point, it's like we were talking about before. It's the shirt, the old shirt we mentioned on Tuesday. Back then, when it was our favorite shirt, it was your favorite because it fit perfectly. But now, I mean, maybe we've grown, maybe we've grown professionally, or our priorities surely have shifted over the years, as they're apt to do. But now, when you put that shirt on, like we were talking about, the buttons are, I mean, there's a structural integrity problem now.
Yeah, there is.
They're holding on for dear life, but I mean, you really are one deep breath away from, wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah, one poorly timed sneeze and the whole plans fell apart.
Pretty much, yeah.
And look, again, nothing about that shirt changed. You know, the fabric's the same, the job is the same. You're just bigger. And you can't shrink yourself back down to fit that old shirt.
Yeah. So, welcome back to the nature of everything. I'm Clint, Bo's with me. And if you're new here, we don't do the whole like hustle culture. Like, I don't do ice baths. Like, it's not, I'm
It's
out.
ridiculous.
I don't like it. But we talk about messy transitions and we consider these friction points in the areas that we're stuck in. And like this one, like feeling like your career is now just a size too small. And what we do is we take these situations, we take these scenarios and we run them through our framework, which is COIN, confirm it, own it, be intentional, and change the nature of everything.
Yeah, because motivation is a feeling. And honestly, feelings are fickle. You know, we're interested in movement. Hey, before we get into the psychology of why we stay in the shirts of life that don't fit, you know, we want to mention something. if you're listening to this and you're kind of nodding along because what we're saying is hitting home a little bit, we wrote the coin book specifically for you.
Absolutely. We realize that talking about these concepts in life, it's awesome. We love it. But actually having a field manual in your hands, it's a much better deal. So the book is a step-by-step guide on how to stop drifting and start deciding. It's not a find your passion kind of book. It's a get unstuck book. It helps you look at your life and it helps you take agency.
It's the framework that we use every day to stop being the victims of our own circumstances and try to start to architect those. If you want to confirm your reality and you want to own your next move, your first move is to grab your copy of the book at coinyourlife.com.
Outstanding. Let's get back into it.
So I think where people get tripped up is assuming that every career problem is the same. But I think there are two totally different ways to be stuck. One version is when maybe your growth, your personal growth, you've outpaced it, right? You're capable of doing 100, but the job only has room for you to do 60, whatever.
Sure.
You're hitting your head on the ceiling every single day.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe version 2 is when the structure is gone. Like maybe you did lose your job, or maybe you reached the top of whatever that pinnacle was and realized that you reached the pinnacle of the mountain, but dude, I'm on the wrong mountain. I was reading this thing the other day and it was by Herminia Ibarra, and I think I got that name right. Herminia Ibarra, who's an expert on career transitions. The statement was, to reinvent ourselves, we must find ways to practice the new before we can become it.
That's
So
good.
the way and so the way I'm looking at is you're in a job that you feel like you're drifting in and it's just not working. It doesn't fit you anymore. Like you're not necessarily being like crushed or it's not overbearing or anything, but if you're feeling lost because you don't have a place to actually practice what you're wanting to accomplish, then you are. It's not just a feeling, you are drifting. And if you try to fix this feeling of drift by shrinking back and compartmentalizing yourself into that old tight role that, well, I mean, it'd be a comfortable role in the sense it's just the fine kind of attempt that you're going to be, then you're just going to make yourself miserable. I mean, it'll be a misery in a different way, but it's still sticking yourself in the too small shirt.
Yeah. And that drifting feeling, it's terrifying, because it feels like you've just lost your identity. We spend so much time saying like, I'm a realtor or I'm an editor, that when that structure goes away, like we don't know who I am anymore.
Sure.
We both lived it. I remember I was a production editor at a newspaper right out of college and I was going nowhere fast. This is that low ceiling. And I had this jackass manager and he would literally call my desk like from like 6 feet away. That's where he had nothing important to say. He said, like, it was the first time I was ever like, you're not the assistant manager, you're the assistant to the manager, right? And so, but that role, like, that fit okay when I was 25, but it was strangling the person that I wanted to become at 26. So I had to jump. And so I got into real estate.
And what a jump. I mean, what an expansive jump to make, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I mean, I love the hustle, but then I had kids, and suddenly that kind of feast or famine early real estate career thing, that wasn't exciting anymore. That was terrifying. And that shirt of the 24/7 real estate agent, it didn't fit the body of this new father who wanted to be at home at dinner. I wasn't in the too small job anymore. I was just kind of out there drifting because my priorities had shifted and my career hadn't caught up yet.
Yeah, and that's a brutal spot to be. I mean, it's a for real gap. That it's like a middle ground where you're trying on. It's like you're trying on new lives, and like, how does this fit? Like looking in the mirror and thinking, well, no, like I know I'm not going to be the assistant to this jackass, but like, what am I doing here? Like, because you were making money, you were making a living. in real estate. I remember that,
Sure,
but
sure.
like it wasn't that your income wasn't landing. It didn't fit the body of the person you were becoming then either. And that is, I mean, it's awkward and weird and terrifying, and you're just standing there trying on your new life, like totally exposed, naked in front of the mirror with this weird life.
And I think often, we try to rush that in between phase, because it
Hmm.
sucks. I mean, that's
Sure,
why it's uncomfortable.
sure.
But that's really where the work happens.
Mm,
And it kind of reminds me of what James Clear says about, identity. He says, like, every action that you take is a vote for the kind of person that you want to become. And when you're in that
hmm.
career transition time, you're kind of casting votes. You have to realize that there's a difference between being stuck and sticking it out.
Right.
Being
Yeah.
being stuck is
Yeah.
passive, like you're just waiting on the door to open. Sticking it out, that's a strategy. That's saying like, this job isn't me forever, but it's currently what I'm doing, and I have to make a living. Like I have bills to pay, so I'm going to
Sure.
stay for 6 months and build some skills or save some amount of money or whatever. I mean, it's strategic.
Yeah, and I really dig that because the job isn't my identity. It's my moment or it's my bridge. Like I'm really into that. Although I've stuck out my job for a long time, I also know that at the end of the day, my profession doesn't have to identify who I am. And the second you say that this job is not going to own me, the minute you do truly confirm that, then the job stops owning you. You're not stuck in that shirt that's too small. You're just wearing it while, your new sexy shirt's being tailored and putting
like
rhinestones and pearl snaps on it for you.
and like we said, that's an awkward kind of challenging time,
It
right?
is.
It's
But
uncomfortable.
don't be mad at the pearl snaps. They're important.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that changes the energy though that you bring like to the office or to your job or whatever. You're
Hmm.
not the bitter employee. You're the strategist on a mission. Like you're not going in bitter because I think that stuck is like when you feel like you can't change something. But strategy is when you're like, hey, I'm working on the change right now. You just have like I'm just not to the part where it changes.
Absolutely. But I mean, I do think we have to be careful and not, skip over the fact that there's a real fear in this gap for good reasons, in the sense that if this is going to create a financial gap that you simply just can't walk away, then yeah, you've got this gap to fill and cross while you're transitioning. But I think the other part of this, I do think where it becomes such a sticking point or create such hesitancy is because we feel like we leave a role, we're admitting, well, this doesn't fit. And now if this doesn't fit anymore, if this particular if this particular shirt doesn't fit anymore, none of us like to really admit that, like, we put on the weight, we changed, and so now the shirt doesn't fit. Well, if we've grown, we still have to admit the same thing, that this current life doesn't fit the way it was. That still can feel like there's a giant hole that's being left in life, if you admit that it doesn't fit and you roll out.
Let's run this through the coin framework.
Hmm.
Confirm it. And look,
Hmm.
we're telling the 3 glasses of wine truth here, right? The real truth. You know, is the role too small? Or are you just lost or drifting? And stop
Mm.
saying it's fine and just start saying, like, that shirt, it's tight.
Yeah, it's tight. I mean, because to your point, confirming it also means that you are admitting to what you're afraid of, because that plays a role. Like, are you afraid of looking like a failure? Are you looking like you gave up? Or are you afraid of the mortgage?
Mm.
If you're, yeah, I mean, so maybe you've over leveraged yourself in many ways. And so if you've got these things going on, then you have to name the monster in the room.
Yeah. And then you got to take some ownership. Stop
Mhm.
blaming your boss, or that boss that I have. I'm literally sitting here right now. I want to like say his name just to be even worse. Like he will never hear it, but I want it to be known.
We are
But
not putting him on Front Street. It's not
I
happening.
guess
Don't
not.
do it.
But look, you got to own it. You got to stop blaming that guy or the economy. Like the gas prices are up $1 a gallon or whatever. You got to stop blaming everything.
Sure.
And you have to ask, like, what part of me being stuck right now But what belongs to me? Am I choosing comfortable misery just because it feels safer than uncomfortable growth from being in the tight shirt? You got to
Sure.
own the fact that doing nothing is still your decision. It's just maybe not the best decision.
Sure. Which brings us to intentionality. Be intentional. You don't necessarily have to have a 5-year plan on everything. If you're stuck, if you know you're stuck right now, create movement. And I mean any movement, like do something, update the resume, set up a meeting over coffee, like read a book outside of what you normally do. If it's not normally what you're doing professionally and it has an interest to you, then read a book about it. Not a 10-second reel, like actually read a book about it. If you're going to stay in this role, then define why.
Mm,
Define why you're staying and for how long. Like give yourself like some actual standards. Give your current situation, your season, your current role. Give it a deadline.
love
Like
it.
if it's not where you want it to be in this particular time frame, then it's incumbent upon you to make some movement. Any movement. Get
Yeah,
unstuck.
because that changes the nature of
Mhm.
everything. Like we said, instead of being like some disgruntled employee, you're kind of a strategist on a mission. And when you change your relationship to the situation kind of loses its power. Viktor Frankl said, when we're no longer able to change a situation, we're challenged to change ourselves.
And that change in nature, it really is the difference between surviving your situation, especially if it's work. If you're just like it's grueling every day to just sit through it and survive versus using your work to fulfill what you want. Like if you think about it, like one version of this, surviving at work and just begrudgingly, like that's a prison. The other, when you use your work, when you use your energies professionally, that's your laboratory. Like that's where you get to go create. You get to choose whether it's a prison or a lab.
Discomfort. I mean, we know this, we've talked about it a lot, but it's just not a sign of failure. It's
Mhm.
feedback. It's a sign of some
Sure.
kind of growth. It's the growing pains that, we get used to as kids, like,
Mhm.
with your legs hurting and you're growing up or whatever. But like this time it's just in our careers as adults. And so,
Mhm.
we don't have to panic and rip the shirt off in the middle of the office.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think HR probably not ready for that kind of nature of everything kind of moment.
the the
I'd hold off on that
natural
one.
the natural of
The
everything.
natural of everything.
But look, don't keep walking around pretending that the shirt fits perfectly when you can feel the buttons giving way. Like
Mhm.
ask yourself, does this career fit who I am becoming or who I used to be? And we talked about it on that Tuesday. And I like that idea of like, does it fit who I'm becoming?
And if you can answer yourself that it's not, it doesn't fit who you're becoming, damn sure don't ask what's wrong with you. That's probably not the issue. But you can ask like, am I stuck? Or now is it that real time to say, I'm choosing to stay. And the reason I'm choosing to stay is this, and this. You may have a whole litany of reasons why you're staying. If you're stuck, well, that's a tragedy. That's that prison we're talking about. The other, like you mentioned before, that's strategy. That's strategic mission stuff, and that's brilliant. That's your laboratory.
Yeah. So look, I think that's an episode. If the shirt doesn't
Mhm.
fit, stop forcing it. You can appreciate that the shirt, I mean, it served its purpose. You were fashionable at the time, but maybe it's time for a change.
Also, something I think is important to really say right here before we wrap this up is that it's not just this isn't just about a career conversation. It's definitely not pigeonholed on your professional choices
Yeah,
only.
not even close.
No, and so I'll say this, if you're listening to us right now and you're thinking, I mean, my job's fine. Like I don't get what you're saying. They're like this doesn't apply to me because I
Yeah,
dig my
because
job. I love my job.
yeah, if you are that person, you're the target audience.
You just happen to be. That's true. Because again, coin isn't like just a career tool, as it were. It is really you're stuck somewhere, and you're most likely telling yourself you're not, or you're pretending that you're not, or your ego and your pride won't let you recognize that you're stuck. It's a tool for that.
Look, it shows up everywhere. Relationships and health and money and all the stuff.
Yeah, like the garage you're supposed to clean out, the the junk drawer in your
Don't bring
kitchen.
up
Like it
don't bring
works
up the
for
garage.
it works for everything. But everybody's got the garage and the junk drawer and the utility closet or whatever, your cleaning supply closet. Like everybody's got that. But if you think about it, like that's your museum of all of your delayed decisions and your I'll get to it later and I'm fine right now. And life really is comprised too often of those things that start small and you consistently tell yourself that, hey, I'm going to deal with that later. I'm going to get around to it. It's on the horizon. But I mean, is it?
Yeah, and then later it turns into 5 years or a decade, and that
Mhm.
junk drawer, it's chaos. But the thing, like the drawer is not the problem.
Right.
It's
That's
it's
right.
the pattern.
Yeah, that pattern. I mean, it's a practice that we've also talked about, and if you continue to practice the hesitations and the "I'll get to it later," if you keep saying, "You know what? I'm going to get to that on Monday," like
Hmm.
guess what? Monday. Look, I hate to ruin my own like choices because I'm often one of those like Monday I'm hitting it hard. Well,
Love
guess what?
Monday.
I know, but I know that Monday's not some awesome spiritual reset button. There's nothing magical about Monday. Nothing.
Yeah, because I mean, at some point we keep putting it off until the proverbial Monday, but then it just
Hmm.
feels too big to even start.
And again, that's the gap. It's that space between I know something's off, something's not working here. There's that part of that, and then there's that other side that says, I'm actually ready to do something about it. That's how you close that gap. Knowing something's off and doing something about it.
Be careful. I mean, what we're saying, it's not about quitting your job tomorrow. I mean, we are, this episode is focusing on careers. And again, just don't walk in and quit, but recognize if you're stuck. And then
Yeah.
actually start the idea, start the process of doing something about it.
I will say though, if you know for you that the right answer is to just go in and quit, I really hope that you guys will reach out to us and tell us your story on that. I really want to read how that worked out because
I don't want
that's
the
super freeing. And
responsibility of that.
no, I
Mail
mean
your
how
mortgage
awesome to
payments in, people. We
no,
got
I'm just
you.
saying, like, what happens when you actually wake up and you're like, nope, this job is bullshit and it's breaking me and it's bad for home life. I don't, it's bad for my relationship with my kids. I'm done. I will find another way to bring income to this household to where it's okay. I'm going to be okay. I would love to hear about that one. I mean, I just think it would be awesome. So if you do just walk in and quit tomorrow, I do want to hear about it for what
Well,
it's worth.
now we're gonna have to put one of those like radio disclosures at the end of like an attorney's ad. Like,
Right. Yeah, it's not.
like,
This
don't
is not.
listen to a
This is
word.
not advice.
No, yeah, this
we
is not
we take no
advice.
fiduciary responsibility for your
None.
poor choices. Yeah.
But
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 so
but
all
do
kidding
start
is
with confirm it and own it, and then be
sure,
intentional means to map it out. Like I
absolutely.
love it.
Because at the end of the day, you don't necessarily need a new life. It's not about that. But you need to we all need to be moving in the life that we have. We need to stay in constant motion in the life that we have.
Yeah. So look, here's a question that we'll leave you with. Where is somewhere in your life that you're calling fine, but
Mhm.
it's actually not the right fit anymore? That's your gap.
And you know what? It is. That's a lot to think about. So, hey, we appreciate you guys for listening. Thank you very much. And it's no small feat, and we love you guys. And thank you for being here with us. Now, I will say this: go forth and change the nature of your everything. Stay in constant motion. Don't get stuck.
Before you go, just know it's time. Time to connect. Time to change the nature of everything. Find us at coinyourlife.com and don't stay stuck.